Today, Apple opens a new global flagship, this time in downtown Los Angeles.
And tourists are coming back to New York City. That's all right now on everything we know about retail.
Hello, my name is James Cook, coming to you from Indiana.
And my name is Ebere Anokute, joining you from New York. Taylor Coyne is on leave for the summer.
Both of us research retail and real estate for JLL. This is everything we know about retail. Ebere, this is the show where we tell all of those people out there everything we know about retail, 3 things at a time.
All right, well, James, tell me, what do you know about retail?
All right, well, now it's time for the first thing that we know about retail. We're talking about a new global Apple flagship, this time in Los Angeles. It's at the Tower Theater on Broadway in DTLA. And there's some pretty, Ebere, there's some pretty like flagshipy Apple locations in New York. There's that Fifth
Definitely.
Avenue box. There's one in a historic post office. Is that right?
There's definitely a nice one in Soho. There's one in Williamsburg. They tend to choose really creative buildings and retail spaces for these flagships.
Yeah, totally. And they've definitely done it again. So this is the Tower Theater on Broadway, 8th and Broadway in downtown LA.
Wow.
This was the first theater to be wired for sound. So it was built in 1927, but it has been closed for a long time. And you can see here, it's been closed for 33 years. It's been closed since 1988.
Wow.
But you can see that Apple worked with a group of historical preservationists to transform it to something akin to its old glory. It's taken them about 4 years to do it. They filed for the permits in 2017, and it just opened like last week.
Oh, wow.
And here's a little aside. I was just digging into this today, and apparently the preservationists, and there is like a group of specifically theater preservationists. They don't have an official position on this project because, as cool as it is, as much as they like all of the work that's gone into it, apparently the theater preservationist credo is that you use the site as a theater for theatrical
Okay.
productions, and they're using it obviously for an Apple store. But I mean, come on, this
Yeah,
is amazing. If
that
you've
is
got,
amazing.
and I don't know if you'd walked down Broadway in LA, but it was very decrepit and really going to seed that building. So it's just absolutely perfect that they did that.
Yeah, that looks really gorgeous. And it reminds me actually of the Apple Store in Grand Central, right? Our New York office for JLO, right here at 42nd and Madison, right next to Grand Central. And that's the closest one to us. And it has a similar sort of cavernous feel, really, really beautiful architecture all around. Obviously, not a theater used for a different purpose, but very, very creative location for an Apple Store.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And like that area, not only just Broadway, but downtown LA in general has so many of these awesome historic buildings that have sort of been going underused or unused for decades and have now been turned into new things. So there's another theater on Broadway that's now the Ace Hotel.
Okay.
Actually, now that I think about it, it's mostly, there's a lot of hotels in downtown LA that are
Yeah.
like, there's one that's like the former Italian embassy or something like that. There's these great old buildings that just have these awesome adaptive reuse stories. And, Apple is just really going out of its way to spend millions on these cool renovations. The one we talked about recently was at Via del Corso in Rome.
Okay.
Just this historic building that they just really brought back to its former glory. So
Wow,
really awesome.
that
So
sounds
anyway,
epic.
yeah, right. So Ebere, what do you know about retail?
Well, James, here is the second thing we know about retail. So, like I mentioned, I'm in New York and I've been here for a little while. And having lived through New York City throughout the last year, I can definitely remember, at the height of the pandemic when there was literally nobody outside, right? Everybody was in their
Right.
houses. It really looked like World War Z, honestly. Like
Right.
all the stores were closed, things were boarded up. It was a really unprecedented time. And, as you can imagine, there was next to no foot traffic throughout the entire city. But thankfully, because of warmer weather, some eased travel restrictions, as well as increasing vaccination rates, there are way, way more people on the streets now, and we've been seeing a lot of pedestrian foot traffic, specifically in Times Square. So I have a nice handy visual right here, and this shows
Oh
the
wow.
average daily visitors to the bow tie. And when we talk about the bow tie for Times Square, we're talking about the area where 7th Avenue and Broadway intersect between 42nd Street and 48th Street, just to give you an idea of what we're looking at. And there had the Times Square Alliance, which is a really, really awesome bid business improvement district here in the city that has a lot of great data. They have a lot of sensors and cameras set up all throughout the bow tie that they use to try to approximate pedestrian traffic. And as you can see here, back in March of last year was when we had our recent high. But after that, in April, dropped down to around 33,000 visitors. And now that we're in today, July of 2021, it looks like back in May, we were coming back up to around 150,000 visitors. So this is great. It is not, we're not yet back to where we were pre-pandemic. Obviously, pre-pandemic Times Square was seeing anywhere from 330 to 375,000 pedestrians per day. But again, when you think about where we were in April of last year, it's clear that we have come a long way as far as foot traffic. And definitely as more visitors continue to come to New York and travel continues to open up, we can definitely imagine that this graph will continue to go back up and ideally return to pre-pandemic levels, albeit maybe in a few months. So that's really good. I know, James, have you done any traveling recently? I know people are getting back out to traveling, so maybe New York will be one of your next stops.
Yeah, that's a great point. New York is on my list, waiting on Broadway to reopen. So that happens in what,
September,
September?
that's what they're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I feel like that's going to be really the to bring it home because that's such a great reason to go to New York for somebody who especially can
absolutely.
get there in a day, or less, and might live in the East Coast or like me in the Midwest.
Mhm.
Yeah, been doing some traveling. Went to Denver
Cool.
and visited my parents in Pennsylvania last week.
That's
That's another
awesome.
story.
That's another
Yeah.
story.
So, I mean, Times Square is one of those places where, in the height of tourist season, it's overwhelming, when it's in
Definitely.
full swing. And you, as a New Yorker, you're going to avoid that, right? There's no reason for you to go through.
No reason to go to Times Square unless I'm going to look at some new retail, or unless there's a cool new store that opens there that I need to see. I will say that subway station is very useful. Obviously, it connects to almost every line, but to come up and be in the actual bow tie, that happens very rarely. But when you're talking about tourists that want to come back, especially for Broadway, kind of like yourself, a lot of times those people will probably stay maybe in the Times Square area because that's around where Broadway is. And one of the big and most positive things about this sort of uptick that we're seeing in travel from domestic tourists and for international tourists is that there's a lot of demand, obviously, for accommodations, and we're seeing some really encouraging signs from the hospitality industry. So hotel occupancy in Times Square was back up to 72% in the first week of June, which is really, really great. Because again, when you think about around this time last year, or even a little bit earlier last year, we were down to almost zero when it comes to hotel occupancy in the city. And the hospitality industry was notoriously hard hit during the pandemic because of all those restrictions with travel and just the general sort of confusion and fear around leaving your house, right, at a certain point. So it's really encouraging that we're seeing this demand for hotel space come back, and there's a lot of developers in the city that are hoping to take advantage of that as well and capitalize on all of this pent up demand for these travel experiences. So one such developer is Soho Properties, and they're opening their new project, Margaritaville Resort in Times Square, and that sounds great to me. I don't know about you, James. I can't wait to go there for a happy hour or something. They're actually opening it this month in July, and it's at around 40th Street and 7th Avenue, so right near the heart of Times Square. And we're talking about a 32-story, 234 room project that costs $370 million to create. So it's definitely going to be, a really epic project once it's finally open. I'm sure there'll be a big party to, announce the opening. And it's something I'm definitely looking forward to going to check out. And just an example of the sort of demand that we're seeing for these hotel experiences that's returning as travelers are getting more comfortable, getting vaccinated, and are feeling more free to move around the country. So that's definitely something to look forward to. And aside from that, there's also a new Hilton development that's in the works that's slated to open at the end of 2022, also in Times Square on 48th Street, I believe, so right off of 7th Avenue. And it's a Hilton development that's going to have over 1,000 rooms. They just got a $75 million investment, and like I said, slated to open end of next year. So you can see from all of this that Times Square is coming back. I can say anecdotally, having walked around the city, throughout the last year, the people are definitely coming back to the streets in general. That people are definitely outside, and Times Square in particular. It's important to see that submarket coming back because it is really sort of vital to the economic health of the city, right? We're talking about a submarket that only accounts for 0.1% of overall land mass in Manhattan, but also accounts for 15% of the economic output, right? So seeing Times Square get that activity back is definitely an encouraging sign for, not only retail, but the entire vitality of New York City going forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And the next time I'm in town, we could have a drink at Margaritaville, right? Not exactly either of our target demo, though. I'd have to say.
Probably not.
Ebere, you're probably not a big Jimmy Buffett fan, are you?
Jimmy Buffett, not so much.
Okay. The little background. That's a musician popular with boomers of a certain demographic.
Sure.
And Margaritaville is themed after his song. Wasting Away Again in Margaritaville is how that goes.
Interesting. I'm learning this in real time, live. This is why we love live TV because I'm learning this right now. Wow. Okay, that's good to know.
Ebere, there's no reason you should or would be familiar with the works of Jimmy Buffett, but anyway. We'll go in, we'll have a drink, they'll play the song or some of his songs, I'm sure, and then we can go somewhere else. Okay.
Let's just say we were there. I love it.
Awesome. So, Ebere, what else do you know about retail?
For sure, James. So here is the third thing that we know about retail.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah, absolutely. What we know is that Target is continuing to expand in New York City. So again, thinking back to the pandemic last year and New York City, which was one of the hotspots for the pandemic, right, in the entire country. Essential retailers truly came through for us, right? They were some of the only retailers that were allowed to continue operation. They were some of the only retailers that were open. And I know you, James, I'm sure remember, or maybe it was a little bit different where you are, but going to the store and seeing no sanitizer, no soap, no toilet paper, no bottled water.
Oh,
it was a crazy time. Yeah,
absolutely. I think that happened everywhere. It was like, yeah. I mean, everybody knows. It was like, hey, is this? Where would that happen? Like when I was a kid, we would hear that would happen like in Russia,
exactly.
Under communism. But no, that could never happen here. Well,
until it does, right? Until April, May of 2020. But so naturally, those essential retailers, they saw a lot of gains throughout the pandemic because they were some of the only retailers that were allowed to stay open. And for a retailer like Target, when we're talking about gains, we're saying serious money, right? So Target saw $15 billion of growth in the year 2020 alone, right? And that number is greater than the growth that they saw for the previous 11 years. So They really, really came up during the pandemic. And it's a testament to, their business model and to the company overall that they were able to meet the intense demand that we all had arguably for everything, right? We needed all kinds of things, and Target is one of those places where you can find almost anything. So it's no surprise that they did really well last year. And that, prosperity that they had has really translated into some leasing activity for them. So Target has been pretty aggressive throughout New York City for, I'd say, the past 2 years or so. They've been opening stores all over the place. I feel like now you can't get off of a subway in a major neighborhood without seeing a Target within a block or two, right?
Wow.
And they are definitely continuing that same aggressive expansion. They just signed a lease at One Court Square, which is a Savannah development in Long Island City, a beautiful green building right in the center of the city. And they signed on for 31,000 square feet there, which is pretty large, but actually sort of a smaller format store when you're talking about Target. This location is going to be their first location in Long Island City and their 17th in New York. For comparison, I think maybe 2 years ago, they probably had around 10, maybe 10 or 11 or so.
Yeah.
So they've been ramping it up seriously. Is that something you've seen where you are too? Have you seen a lot of Targets opening up, or is there another sort of big box retailer that's been really taking up space?
So it's interesting. Target has really focused expansion with the flexible format, the smaller, often reuse of second generation space in cities.
Sure.
So I live out here in the country, so we have not, and kind of like suburban, Indianapolis, we have not seen really new like big boxes that much at all, like that,
Okay.
like super centers. It's really been limited to university towns and urban locations. So I have seen new ones go into, Lafayette, where Purdue University is. They have a
Sure.
small format one there. But yeah, I mean, and it's smart because, if you're willing to be flexible with your format, you can get into these high density city locations, and people love Target, right?
Absolutely. People do love Target, and you're spot on with the small format stores, right? Because a typical Target store might be anywhere from 60,000 to maybe 70,000 square feet. But these smaller format stores are about half of that, right? So the one that they're opening now in Long Island City is around 31,000 square feet. And the company has really found that, downsizing their formats and offering a more specially curated selection of items in the store has brought a lot of success to them. So much so that they've opened 29 small format stores across the country just last year alone, right? And they have announced plans to open 30 to 40 of those smaller format stores each year for the next few years. So clearly they are, all steams ahead, whatever the phrase is. They are absolutely pressing ahead with these expansion plans, and are finding a lot of success. Downsizing because, like you said, it allows them to get into these more urban markets and to, take up space in areas where they typically might have had trouble finding the right sort of location for a 60,000 square foot store. Yeah. And were you going to say something, James?
No, you're
No.
good.
And I was just going to say finally that downsizing, it's sort of a trend that we've been seeing across the retail industry for a while now. I think we've all heard of retailers trying to do more with less. And I think especially in the apparel sectors where we've seen that reflected, at least in New York, most heavily. So we think that the popularity of the showroom model, wherein stores carry way less inventory in favor of just having maybe one or two options of a given item, and then ordering whatever they need from their distribution centers elsewhere. That showroom model has contributed to an observed 57% decrease in average store size since 2015 for apparel stores in Manhattan, right? So Target seems to be right on top of this trend. They kind of see exactly where things are going, and they're, doing their best to use the money that they've made throughout the pandemic to capitalize on this and continue expanding. And I'm sure, maybe the next step is going to be Targets in the office, right? Maybe we'll have a small Target kiosk in the office that works with them.
Dude, patent that. That's brilliant.
I mean, whoever's watching, don't take that.
Oh, well, actually, speaking of whoever's watching, comment from Whitney. It's the smart growth concept. Pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Whitney. And also, hey, Stephanie's also watching on LinkedIn Live. She says, cool. I think she might have been saying cool about the Apple Store, but I forgot to put it up at that time. So
Listen, we'll take
thanks,
it wherever.
Stephanie.
Oh yeah, it is very cool, and it's interesting to follow that model and to see if maybe other large big box stores are gonna take that same sort of lead. I think with Amazon breaking more into physical retail through like Whole Foods and their Amazon Go concepts, I think all of these big tenants are having to rethink their strategy when it comes to this. And maybe the days of the 60,000 square foot, 70,000 square foot store are gone, and we're going to see some small Walmarts, some small Kohl's, some smaller everything going forward, because Target's clearly doing well with it.
Yep. Awesome. I love it. So, Ebere, you know what time it is.
Do what?
You're like, what time is it? Ebere, it's time for the retail challenge.
Oh, let's do it.
All right. So oftentimes we'll bring in somebody else to play the retail challenge, but because you're our summer guest host, you're going to be participating in the retail challenge. I will also invite our viewers on LinkedIn Live or on YouTube to throw in your answers as well. So Ebere, what I'm going to do is ask you 3 questions, and I've arbitrarily decided that if you get 2 out of the 3 correct, you will win the retail challenge, and you'll be granted some kind of entitlement, which I haven't thought of yet. But we'll give you a retail challenge. I don't know, bobblehead of me. No, you don't need that. No one needs that.
The bragging rights are more than enough. If I can just brag that I'm the retail champion, then that'll keep me feeling good.
All right. So our first question is about Best Buy. Or I'm sorry, Bed Bath & Beyond. I'm getting my B's mixed up. You're like, is it? So Bed Bath & Beyond reported their latest comps. There were 86% over 2020. They've been doing several quarters of very positive comps. They're part of a turnaround strategy. Their CEO, Mark Tritton, was formerly the CMO at Target, speaking of Target. And part of Target's strategy is to do all of these private label brands. Like Archer Farms is one I always get. And so he comes to Bed Bath & Beyond and says, I'm going to roll out a bunch of private labels here to use that as part of our growth strategy. And it seems to be working. So I'm going to tell you, they've already launched at least 6 private label brands, and I think they're going to do 8 total. I'm going to tell you the names of 3 brands. 2 of them are real. 1 I just made up this morning. So you have to tell me which is the made up brand. So the first one is called Wild Sage. And this private label brand sells bedding, decor, furniture, and bath. The second one is called Nestwell, which is bedding and bath. And the third one is called Happy Hands, which is a COVID-inspired cleaning brand with items focused on hand washing. So you've got Wild Sage, Nestwell, and Happy Hands. Which one did I make up?
Wild Sage, Nestwell, and Happy Hands. I will say, I'm just going to speak through my thought process maybe. I'll say Nestwell sounds legit to me, right? It sounds like something I might have seen before. And Wild Sage, I'm trying to get into greens and earth tones, so I'm just going to assume that that's real and say that Happy Hands is the made up one.
You're right. I made up Happy Hands. It sounds a little gimmicky, like COVID-inspired cleaning products.
I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised.
It doesn't sound like it has long-term growth. So anyway, some other brands that they've launched: Our Table, which is kitchen and dinnerware; Haven, and Simply Essential. So 1 question down, and you've got 1 point. So it's time to move on to the next one. Oh, I'm sorry, Whitney. You said Happy Hands as well.
She's up on it.
She's correct. So Ebere's got a point. Whitney, we're going to give you a point as well. Absolutely. Okay. So here's our next one. Ebere, not sure how much of a fashionista you are, but Marc Jacobs just did their spring show. This is at the New York Public Library, the one next to Bryant Park.
Right there, yeah. Near us.
Yes, you know the spot. Right near you.
Yeah.
So this is the first normal fashion show that we've seen in New York since the pandemic started. And, Marc Jacobs, so it's the kind of stuff that you like to see on a runway. I'm not sure I would wear. Yeah. This photo, well, of course, it's not men's clothing. But anyway, This photo is from the New York Times, and it says, this is, quote, a cutaway bodysuit, fake full stir, and fake fur stole, and puffer snood. Are you familiar what a snood is? I had to look up snood.
I've definitely seen the word recently. I don't know if I would have known what to call that otherwise, but yeah, you say it. Yeah, that's definitely a snood.
Yep, it's a puffer snood. So anyway, that's not our trivia question. This is our trivia question. In 2018, Marc Jacobs proposed to his then partner, now husband, Charlie DeFrancisco. And how he did it was he did a flash mob. So a flash mob performed a dance to the Prince song Kiss. And then right after they were done, he proposed.
Wow.
So it happened in a retail place. This is how I'm tenuous, trying to connect it to the show. Mm-hmm. It happened in a retail place. So did the proposal happen at 1, Macy's Herald Square? And this is back in 2018.
2018.
2, a Chipotle? Or 3, was it at Saks Fifth Avenue?
Huh. Okay.
Where's that flash mob proposal?
Where's a flash mob? I mean, a flash mob can't fit in any Chipotle I've been in, so I'm gonna have to cross them out. I'm gonna have to cross that one out. Macy's Herald Square, the biggest Macy's in the world, probably has the space for it. And if Marc Jacobs came and said, I want to do something here, I would let him do it. So let's see. And the other one was Saks Fifth Avenue. I'm going to say Macy's just because Saks has way too many delicate things. There's way too many expensive delicate things in Saks that could get broken by accident by one of these, dancers. So I'm going to guess Macy's.
All right. Well, Whitney has guessed Chipotle. Oh, also Noel wants to know, how don't you know what a snood is? Come on, man. Doesn't everybody know? I feel like it's a British word. It sounds British. Absolutely. Anyway, it happened at this Chipotle.
Are you serious?
And he posted the video Marc Jacobs posted the video on his personal Instagram account. And it's straight up like, normal couple out at Chipotle. All of a sudden there's a flash mob and a proposal. So,
wow.
Yeah, you would have thought it would have been at Saks or something like that. But no.
Yeah, where they sell Marc Jacobs.
Right?
That's where there's a Marc Jacobs branded Chipotle bowl, but maybe there should be. Maybe there should have been a collab there. I don't know. Missed opportunity.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Okay, so 1 correct, 1 incorrect. It seems like Whitney's kicking your butt right now.
Yeah, damn, Whitney. Maybe she should go do the show with us.
She's trying to get a bobblehead right there.
Absolutely.
Okay, so final question.
Okay. No pressure.
Recent Harris poll came out, and it's all about technology and retail. How do we use technology in our retail places? 71% of people said they use self-checkout. 26 said they've actually used the automated checkout like you have at Amazon Go. So that was surprising to me that more than a quarter of people have used that automated self-checkout. But anyway, that's interesting. But what's really interesting is how many people actually want technology in the store. What percentage of people say they want the same or more technology in their shopping experience? So what percentage of people want the same or more technology in their shopping experience? And I'll give you 3 choices.
Okay.
Was it 30%? Was it 50%? Or was it 80%?
30, 50, or 80% of survey respondents wanted more technology in the store.
More or the same. Yeah, they're like, same. I love this technology, and either I like how it is or I want more.
Is this specific to grocery stores?
No, this is all shopping stores.
All shopping. 30, 50, or 80? 80 seems high, just based on who I see in the self-checkout lane with me. And it's not a lot of people. It's not usually many people. It's usually people going to the cashiers. So I mean, see, now I'm nervous because Whitney is right on my heels. So I'm terrified. I'm going to go 50. I'm going to say 50.
Actually, it was 30%. But don't worry, Whitney didn't answer this one. Okay, so she probably had a phone call she had to do. Oh, although Bharat said 50. You know what it is, Ebere? I think LinkedIn Live is on a little bit of a delay. I
Maybe.
think that's what it is.
Okay.
Whitney did say 30%. She wants
Whitney got all three.
she
Jeez.
wants Skynet. She wants Skynet up in this piece. Whitney, none of us want Skynet, but it does seem like it's going toward that, doesn't it?
Yeah. Wow. Whitney's the champ. It's not even me. I got
All
one out of
right.
three.
So Ebere gets 1 out of 3. Whitney, who's playing along at home, Whitney, you win our retail challenge for the day. That was awesome. So in future episodes, we don't always do trivia questions. We do different stuff, but I also like to have other people come on and play head to head. So thank you, Ebere, for being such a good sport today.
Absolutely.
And thanks to all of our viewers out there. Let me see if I missed any comments. Nope, I think I got all of them. Noel, Whitney, Barat, Stephanie, and everybody else, thank you guys so much for watching today.
Thank you.
So if you want more retail trends, check out our audio podcast. It's called Where We Buy. This is where we do the in-depth, kind of long conversations about the latest in retail trends. If you go on Spotify and search for Where We Buy, you can follow us there, or whatever podcast app you like to use, or go to wherewebuy.show to stream us on the web.
And if you enjoyed what you saw here today through either LinkedIn or YouTube, maybe, please feel free to hit the subscribe button on YouTube and give us that, that number, and click on the bell icon so that you're notified when new shows come out. You don't have to wonder, where are these guys been? It's been so long. You'll get a notification, so there's nothing to worry about there.
Yeah, and definitely follow JLL Retail on LinkedIn. So we go live there as well. We're going live every Thursday at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 Eastern. If you want to see us on YouTube, you can go to everythingweknow.show, and that just redirects us right to our show on YouTube. But Ebere, you know what I want to know? Tell me something else. What else do you know about retail?
James, I will tell you more next week.